Yeah, hey everybody, this is Ian, and welcome to the 30-day 1K CARRD challenge. That's a non-COVID cough. It is November 24th around 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The challenge begins at 2 o'clock, so you'll have access to all of the back-end administration area in a couple hours. Now, we're going to make this exceptionally simple. This 30-day challenge is really oriented around three core concepts. One is identifying an ideal audience. Two is creating an irresistible offer. And three is executing an email outreach campaign. Now, the outreach doesn't necessarily have to be email, but email certainly has the highest ROI of any outreach efforting that you can do, especially in a short time frame like 30 days. So again, irresistible offers, email outreach, and of course, the first step is identifying an ideal audience or picking a niche to begin with. So I want to start with that step because I think that's really, obviously the most important early part of this process. And while it's not set in stone, if you screw this part up or you don't really, appropriate the proper thinking to this step, it can really set you back and it'll be frustrating, and it's an easy thing to get right. So let's cover that now. And there's a PDF or a worksheet that you have access to. You can actually download this. There's also another copy of this embedded in the back end of the LMS. So you'll have that in your cohort as well. And here is the way that we begin with this specific step. So this is done in the service of simplicity, and it doesn't need to be the audience that you stick with as you scale. What does that mean? It simply means that in the very first step right now, the first thing that we want to do is pick a ideal audience that we can target for 30 days. Now, beyond 30 days, as you grow your brand and your business, another non-COVID cough, you do not need to stick with this niche, right? But it is important to pick something in the beginning that's narrow and that we can really focus on for 30 days. This is why, or this is, to my mind, the reason that people fail is that we all bounce around from niche to niche, idea to idea, topic to topic, et cetera, et cetera. And if you start with designers, then you move to doctors, and then you go to detailers, and then florists, and then realtors, you're never gonna get the momentum you need to succeed. So what we do in this very first step is we do what I call a niche and need exercise. And this is done to ensure that we're targeting the right audience now, right? So what we ask is, what is the niche and what do they empirically need, right? So if you are working in, let's say, Kansas or Cleveland or Canada in some local community, and local is always better than kind of like, having no borders, right? So geographical orientation is a plus, not a negative. And let's say you're in Cleveland and let's say you want to target realtors, and you see that all of the realtors that you're targeting in your local area have really great websites, or they have really well done landing pages. And all of a sudden, the notion that you have something they need to succeed disappears, right? You're not then filling a hole in the marketplace. So this is the step where you discard that niche as the target audience and you begin again. And maybe you look next, and we're still in Cleveland, let's say, at sushi restaurants, and you find that there are 150 sushi restaurants, which is probably a lot for a local area, but let's just say there are. And out of those 150, only 17 have an actual website, right? Now you actually have a niche that has something, they have a need that you can actually fill with this CARRD offer. So that becomes a very appealing, attractive audience. Now, it's not necessarily the audience that you would settle on just yet at this step, but it is a really ideal candidate because they have an empirical need that you can fill by dint of offering a card-based landing page or website that would take you literally minutes or hours to finish and give them exceptional value while making a few $100s on up. I mean, you can charge whatever is most comfortable for your local area or for the marketplace, or to confer value to your clients, right? But even at a couple $100s, the appeal of CARRD is such that these kinds of sites can be done so quickly that you could literally do a site that offers an incredible amount of value to a client in an hour at most, and using a template, and give them hosting and all that other stuff. And it essentially, you could do that 4 times a day, 5 times a day. You can make your first $1,000 in a day using that model if you execute properly, right? So in step number 3, as you'll see in the PDF and in the worksheet, there is an exception to this rule of niche and need with respect to, let's say, realtors. Let's go back to that example and say that you really want to target realtors. You really want to use these card-based solutions as a designer, as a developer, as a web marketing consultant. But realtors all have good websites, like we just discussed. So you kind of feel stuck at this stage that you can't continue with that niche, even though it's the one that you really want to pursue, right? And I'm only pointing this out because I know some people in the challenge have very specific communities already that they've built or developed, and some of their clients already have great websites, right? Or many of their potential clients, I should say, already have great websites. So what I recommend here is to look for another hole that you can fill. And the example I give here, which is a real one, is if you're focusing on realtors and they do have really good websites. I mean, most realtors have some website, or they do have a landing page, but they don't have good profile pages on their social media, where many people in these sorts of, like, let's say, realtors or real estate professional, financial people, all those sorts of folks tend to hang out on Instagram and those sorts of sites to do lead generation, right? You'll find that you can offer a Linktree style page, which will curate all of their links in the world in one spot. And Instagram only offers that single bio link. So having this Linktree style page where they can have the most recent listing, their baseball team that they coach, their profile page on their agency site. They can have 5, 6, 7, a podcast, maybe a PDF that they give away, or a lead generation device that they offer. You can create these profile pages, Linktree style pages for Instagram, which are everywhere on Instagram. It's really kind of the de facto way that professionals who have multiple things to offer their audience represent themselves on Instagram. So you can use that approach to offer a Linktree style site on Instagram as a really appealing offer to realtors, even if they already have the requisite websites and landing pages, et cetera, et cetera. You now have this really unique offer using something like CARRD, which again, you could do a Linktree page, and I've done a video on this, which I will post somewhere within the cohort as well. You could do that in 15 minutes. You could charge $100 for the year and have literally 25 of those in a week that you're offering to realtors just by dint of using email outreach. So, it's really important to get this piece right, and we're going to interact, you and I, to ensure that we do. And essentially, you don't have to stick with a niche that you pick beyond the 30 days, but you do need to pick a niche for the challenge. You can't just say, I'm going to email everybody in my local area to start, right? We need a specific niche, an ideal audience, a quintessential client, and we need to know why. So that is covered quickly in the summary, which says, let's choose a niche, an ideal audience, or a quintessential client based on your specific goals and needs, what they need and what you need. And let's identify the type of card site that would be best suited for them. And then let's describe why. So let's just get really clear on our ideal audience. And then we move on to step number 2, which we'll cover in a different module, which is irresistible offers, and then ultimately email outreach or outreach in general. I recommend, as I mentioned before, email outreach. It's the easiest way of doing this rather than going to Twitter or Instagram or LinkedIn, et cetera, et cetera. Email is the most effective return on investment approach that you can use to market yourself and acquire clients without question. And that's why we focus on it here. All right. So that's the ideal audience recording. If you have any questions, post them in the challenge area below, and I get notified every time someone asks a question, and feel free to ask anything you like, and we will create this ongoing feedback loop over the course of 30 days where you'll get all your questions answered. Okay, teach what you know, do what you love, wake up the world with your work. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see everyone on the next module.